Hi everyone, and welcome back to Shattered Silence. My name is Jori, and today I am here with our guest Lillian.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So Lillian is from New York City, and she's actually a widow to an NYPD detective. She's been following us since the beginning.
Very, very beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, you talk about your reminders here.
Yes. So when I discovered Shattered Silence, I knew, like, this is something I need to watch. This is something that I'm going to connect with. And I put reminders in my phone for your first
That's
episode.
flattering.
Yeah.
That's very flattering.
Yeah.
But I want to say, I think by the time we were launching, I mean, your husband didn't pass away that much long before that, right?
No, he passed away July 7th, and I think you guys aired your first episode maybe end
August.
of July, beginning of August.
Yeah. Dang, I didn't even realize how close that was. But yeah, well, unfortunately, I'm glad you're here. On unfortunate circumstances, I should say.
I know. I'm grateful to be here, and it's like unfortunate that I'm here.
Right.
But you know.
Yeah, and then we kind of did like a FaceTime like introduction, and we connected right away. Mm-hmm. Could talk really easily with you, and I mean, just having those connections, like I've constantly talked about, is like everything.
It's like a lifeline, actually. Just having someone that you can talk to. Like those raw conversations where you don't have to censor yourself.
Right.
It's rare, and it really is like a lifeline.
Right.
To know that I'm not alone.
Yeah, you're not. And like I remember being in that position though, only like a month or two out, and talking to my friend Adriana, because she had went through it right before me, and I felt the same way. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can talk to someone. I'm not crazy, even though you have all these just weird thoughts in your head and you don't even know which way to navigate, but it's so nice to have someone like validate everything you're feeling.
You're not crazy.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just go into a little bit of your story with Rob, and just like how you guys met, and just start from the beginning.
Okay. Yeah. So Rob and I met in Atlantic City. I guess it's like an East Coast thing. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with Atlantic City? Yeah.
No.
So it must be like an East Coast Jersey thing. But there was this club called Murmur, and we met like just one random night, and I was very young. I was 23, and I really didn't think it would go anywhere, and he was so persistent, and he was so darn cute. And I lived in New Jersey in the Princeton area with my parents, and he lived in Staten Island in New York, and he would make the drive like it was nothing to see me, and we hit it off. And he was already in the NYPD, and he was training for something called ESU, Emergency Services Unit, and he had like all this tactical training. I remember watching him like tie ropes over and over again when he was in rope school, and then like practicing his diving and for scuba, and it was this really intense 6 months of training. That was like the beginning of our relationship. And then he had this graduation, and I was just like so proud of how strong he was, and he was always a gentleman, and people would be like, Rob's the life of the party, and he really was, and I feel like those were like the things that I was most attracted to him for, right? Like at work he was so strong, and he always had things under control, but then like outside of work he was so fun, and everyone wanted to be around him. It was like he was like the perfect guy, right?
That infectious energy.
Yeah,
that's how Kyle was. Yeah,
it's like you just always want to be around them, and like people are just, it was just always like light and easy with him, you know. So then we got married we met in 2012, and we got married in 2015. We had our honeymoon in Greece, and it was
nice.
Magical.
Yes.
And we had my oldest, Robbie, and when Rob found out he was going to be a dad to like a son, oh my God, it was like his world changed, you know. He was so cute with him. Robbie was obsessed with him. And then we had Nicholas, and Nicholas was our COVID baby.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And so, everything was so different.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was pregnant with Nicholas during COVID, and I was teaching from home, and Rob was an essential worker, so he had to go to work during COVID, and this was when we didn't know anything about it.
I forget this whole like essential workers and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, COVID.
It was
it's
such
just
an
so
unknown.
weird. Yeah.
We didn't know anything about it.
I know.
And like I remember he would call me and he'd be like, "Well, should I not come home, or what should I do with my clothes?" So like you open the side door and I'll go straight to the basement. I'll take off my clothes and then like I'll come upstairs and shower, but then leave the cleaning supplies out and I'll disinfect when I get out of the shower. Like nobody knew anything.
Yeah, you have no idea. It's scary. It was scary.
So scary. And then on top of that, I was pregnant. We didn't know how that would be.
I didn't even think about you being pregnant.
Yeah. And so there were so many protests going on around that time. And he was scared to go to work, you know? And he was so scared that he would bring something home. And at that time, he had accumulated some sick days, but he ended up taking like a month or two off of work because he was unsure. And he was like, I just have to put my family first. And it was like a little reset for him, I think. I think he needed it. And then he ended up transferring out of ESU, Emergency Services Unit, and he went to the field now. So he was no longer working in the trucks. He was training the guys going into ESU. So what he had done when he and I first started dating, he was now training those guys.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about ESU, like what they do?
Yeah. I actually didn't know if ESU was a thing everywhere.
I had never heard of it before.
So it's Emergency Services Unit, and what they essentially are is the backup for the police. So like if the police on patrol have a job that they can't solve or they can't figure out or they don't have the equipment for, it's essentially ESU's job to figure it out.
Okay.
So Rob is trained in climbing the bridges to rescue jumpers, people trying to commit suicide on bridges. We have like these article clippings out of the newspaper of him climbing to like the top of a skyscraper and rescuing a girl trying to commit suicide. My kids love watching videos of him jumping out of the helicopter. Swift water rescues.
Gosh, yeah.
Like, the big scary.
Yeah.
The big scary stuff.
I actually do have chills. I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine watching your husband do that too. That's scary. That's scary for you.
Yes, it was scary. And there would be times where I couldn't get in touch with him after work, and I'm like, well, he's got to go pick up the kids. And then I'll look on like the Daily News or the New York Post, and I'm like, oh, there he is. All right.
Oh my gosh.
And I guess he's not coming home for dinner.
Yeah.
But, I think it's like 4th generation ESU. So his brother was a Marine, and then he was in gang for a while, and then like 6 months before Rob passed, he joined ESU also. Okay. His father was also in ESU.
Okay.
His grandfather and his great-grandfather were also NYPD.
Okay.
And so there's like a
so just in the family,
Yeah. Have you ever seen an episode of Blue Bloods? It's like NYPD at the table, and they just have like all this cop talk. And I'm like, this was what dinner was like with them.
Like, this was us, yeah.
But it was like in his blood almost.
Yeah, seriously.
And we were really, really, really proud of the work that he did.
Yeah.
Like, it's not for the weak.
No.
Like what he did and what he saw was incredible. And then to be able to come home, and like forget it.
Yeah. And that's a point that I always want to bring up too, is that, I feel like a lot of people think of like traumatic jobs as like military, but they don't think as much about law enforcement, even paramedics, and just all of our first responders. And it's like they see a lot.
Totally.
A lot. And it's not talked about.
Totally.
At all. My brother-in-law is a California Highway Patrol, and I have hardly heard any stories from him, but I know that he's got some stories, and it's just kind of crazy to think that you interact with these people in their daily life, but you don't even know half the stuff that they've seen.
None. I think at one point in our relationship, I think it was like shortly after I couldn't get in touch with him, and then I saw him in the news where we were just kind of like, let's not talk about work, only because he said everything changed when he had kids. He's like, the way I would take on a job now is different because like my priority is coming home. And so I was like, I don't want my kids to pick up on it. Like, I don't want, like, you leave work at work, and how will I sleep at night,
Yeah.
And so we kind of did that. We just, he kind of left it at work, and he came home, and, but it was hard for him, you know, like it changed him, I think. And it's like these small little changes that you don't see on like the daily basis, you know, but comparing like the Rob pre-COVID to the Rob after COVID, I'm like, holy moly, like you are a different person. How did I not see it, you know? And
you're saying like you saw it more after he passed, or just?
I think I saw it like the last, like probably like 6 months of his life, I think, was when I was able to recognize like something's up, and like you're just way more withdrawn, I guess, you know? It's not the same Rob that we used to have at home.
Yeah.
And I mean, the job will do it to you. 3 kids later, you know, I had Layla July of 2023. So when Rob passed away, the week we buried him, Nicholas turned 4, and then like 2 weeks later, Layla turned 1. So it was like, you know?
Yeah, that's so hard. Because, so when Kyle passed away, Brooks was 9 months old. So, then a couple months later, had to do the whole first birthday party without him. And I know, I mean, you were even closer, but still, I mean, having a first birthday so close to the time where their dad passed away, and you're just sitting there like, what's happening? This is a whole birthday party? You know what I mean?
Like the elephant in the room, right?
I just remember sitting there and just being like, oh man, like this is real. We have this whole thing, this whole event going on, and like I'm like looking over to the side and like imagining Kyle sitting over there, you know? It's just a weird thing.
Yeah, I remember we took our first family photo, so it was like 2 days later, right?
Yeah.
We buried Rob on the 11th. Rob would have turned 42 on the 12th.
Oh my gosh.
And then Nicholas turned 4 on the 13th. And it was a party we had already planned. And I mean, the way my family and my friends and everyone rallied, like everyone showed up, and they made sure my kids were good, you know?
And even more so than that, they were doing that for you too.
Oh my God.
Just like, we need to have this good party and just be surrounded by all the people that you love. And I just remember that feeling too. It kind of like makes me want to tear up a little bit. But it just is like, it's, I don't know. I will always remember that, and just 100%. Always remember that first birthday party. And as awesome as it was for Brooks, it's just like, you know, obviously that's all you can think about in the back of your head, and you're just like, oh my gosh, how am I having this event right now with my person gone? You know, it's weird because it's that first event, you know?
Yeah, it was like the first family photo without him.
Yeah. And you'll just always remember that, unfortunately, you know, but it's just like a time in your life where you always think back and like, man, that was like such a big like turning point in your life, you know? I don't know. It's just a weird thing. We have a message from our sponsors, Aspire Counseling Services. We just want to remind everyone that seeking treatment should never be stigmatized. Aspire specializes in providing support and treatment for both teens and adults with mental health and substance use disorders, recognizing that these conditions often do coexist. They are an amazing resource, and you can get started by texting or calling the number 888-585-7373 to enroll at any time.
it's crazy, but it's also so eye-opening to the people that show up for you. Like, the way our families rallied, my friends rallied. I remember, I think it was right after the birthday party, everyone came back to my house, and I'm like numb, you know?
Yeah.
And there were maybe like 10 to 15 of the little kids running around in my basement, going outside, and my parents are tending to all those kids who are having the time of their life. They have no idea.
Yeah.
And then I had all of my cousins going through each room, organizing drawers, hanging clothes, getting rid of expired medicine, organizing my pantry, cleaning out my fridge. Like, I remember my aunt in my closet, like, do you need your pregnancy pillow anymore? I guess not.
Yeah, I know.
And then, like, their husbands were picking weeds from my backyard, cleaning out my gutters.
Oh my gosh,
my cousin's husband took my car to rotate my tires, change my oil, detail the car, fill it with gas. Like, and I'm just sitting there looking around like, what is happening?
Yeah, it's literally like one of those scenes in a movie where you're sitting there and everything's 100 miles an hour around you and you're just literally just in the same spot. Because, like, same thing. Like, my family and friends, like, all really came together. They got a house cleaner to come and clean up my house and stuff. And, you know, starting a meal train, giving you gift cards for you to order your own food, or just bringing you food. Or my mom coming and doing all my laundry and just helping watch Brooks, and just, like, all the things, all the support and love that I was shown. I know that.
And the things you didn't know you needed.
Yes,
you know?
100%.
Like, I remember the first time, because they came over in the summer, and then, like, in the fall, my kids getting a fever and being like, oh my God, I'm so glad they got me this new Motrin that wasn't expired, because I wouldn't have remembered to get it. And
all the little things that you really, truly don't think about. And that's why the one piece of advice that I was trying to give some people, I've had some people reach out like, hey, my friend just lost their husband or whatever. What can I do? What's the most helpful thing? I said, don't give them gift cards. Don't tell them that you can do whatever they need, and to let them know you need to just do it. Go get groceries, bring them over. Go over there, say, hey, I'm going to do your laundry. What do you want me to do first? You know, don't even ask them if you want me to do it. Just go do it, because they'll say, no, it's fine. And I mean, that's how I've always been my whole life anyways, just like, no, it's okay. I'll take care of it. I got it, you know? And so then when people started doing that for me, like, hey, I'm bringing you dinner. What time works best? Instead of just like, do you want me to bring you dinner? I'd be like, no, I'm okay, you know? So it's like just like telling them what they need, because they have no freaking clue. And that helped me the most, because I'm like, I won't ask for it. Right. I won't ask. Just come do it.
You also don't have the capacity to, like, put together a grocery list. Someone was like, can you let me know what your kids like? And I'm like, I don't know what my kids like. Yeah, do you have kids? Send me whatever your kids would like, exactly, you know? Like, I don't know what I need. I don't remember
what I need. I really don't. But yeah, it's those days, months after is tough.
It was like a blur, and yet somehow I remember thinking several nights, I'm like, I go to sleep thinking, how will I make it? How did I make it through today? And then I'd wake up in the morning and think, how will I make it through today? And then at the end of the night, I'd be like, how did I make it through today?
Exactly.
Like, how did I do it? And then, oh my God, I have to do it again tomorrow. And then you get up and you do it again tomorrow.
You just do
and
it.
It's like literally 1 minute at a time. Like, I can't. I'd have like a schedule of things, and I'm like, if it's not tomorrow, I can't look at it yet. Like,
exactly.
I don't have the brain power to look at it yet.
And my aunt, I will always remember her saying this to me, because she lost her son, my cousin, at 19. And so she was just telling me in the very beginning, she was like, don't look at the whole picture, don't look at the big picture, it's too overwhelming, so just take it little pieces at a time. And I'm like, I love that, because then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what about Brooks in the future? And then I don't have, and I'm thinking really of everything, which, I mean, it's hard not to think about that. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, you're right. Why am I thinking about what I'm going to do in 4 months when he has to do this, and you know what I mean? I'm
Totally.
like, let me just, like you said, let me just think about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or even think about right now.
Yeah.
Think about the next couple hours.
Yeah.
You know?
Even like I'm 7 months out now, and like even today, like I have to remind myself, like my biggest fear, it always comes back to me, is I'm like, what if my kids never have a dad to cheer for them in a sport?
Mm-hmm.
And like that's my greatest fear, and
Yeah.
that eats me up, and I'm like, I can't think about that right
Yeah.
now. Like
Yeah.
if he has a lacrosse game, like I will just be there loud enough, and I hope that's enough. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because I can't think about that
Right.
later on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard. And I just, yeah, it is very hard to not, like, what am I trying to say? Not, like, overwhelm yourself with just all the intrusive thoughts
Yeah.
about what your life is not going to be like anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's hard. That's really hard. But let's go back to, I mean, because I know all of this happened, all these birthdays and dates, and all of it is your July.
Yeah,
So
that was my July. Yeah,
yeah.
that was like one heck of a month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, how, yeah, go into your story, I guess. Like, so how were the events leading up?
Okay, so I had mentioned COVID. I think that was like a really big indicator, and I think his brother and I were able to recognize it. His mom, his brother, and I think were the three who knew something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he never admitted to having problems.
Mm-hmm.
And he would just always say, like, I know what I need to do. Like, I can get it together. I know what I need to do. And, like, I trusted him, you know? And he was getting to work on time. And he was so good at what he did. And he would give his all at the job that nobody would ever suspect that he was like suffering or that he was depressed or, you know, but then coming home, it was almost like the crash, you know, it was just really hard for him to be, you know, the Rob that we needed and the Rob that we knew. So July 4th weekend, he had to work a double on July 4th, and we had plans to go see my family in Michigan. And so he was like, you take the kids and your mom, and I'll work. And it really wasn't out of the ordinary for me to travel without him because of his schedule. You know, like major holidays or weekends, he's usually working. And so that really wasn't out of the ordinary. And we FaceTimed him on the 4th, and he was at work, and we FaceTimed him, you know, several times a day. But I could tell he was off. I could tell something was wrong. And then the kids tried to FaceTime him one night, and he didn't pick up. And he's never not picked up for the kids. And then the next morning, the kids FaceTimed him again. And I actually just recently found on his phone that after that first call, my oldest Robbie FaceTimed him again and left him a message, like a face message. Did you know you could do that?
Yeah, like a FaceTime voicemail.
Yeah.
That was like kind of a newer thing. Yeah.
I didn't know. I never knew about it. And I saw it on Rob's phone. And he said, Daddy, you're not picking up. I've been trying to FaceTime you. I want to tell you about my day. I miss you. I'm like, he never got it. So the next day when he didn't pick up for the kids, I reached out to his mom who was out of town. And so she reached out to his brother. And his brother called me. Ironically, I was going to the cemetery to visit my grandparents. And his brother was like, I sent him an Instagram at 8 p.m. last night, and he never opened it, which is very unlike him. And so he's like, I think I'm going to call ESU and have them do a wellness check. Can you get somebody does anyone have a key? And my neighbor had a key. So my neighbor opened the door, I guess, right before ESU showed up and saw Rob's feet at the foot of the door, and he had killed himself. And while my neighbor was opening the door, I was listening on my kid's baby monitor that I have, like, the Wi-Fi hooked to my phone, and I could hear him scream, Rob. But the door was closed. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear it, and I wasn't sure if he was, like, calling, looking for him, but it was just one time, Rob, and that was it. And then, like, 2 minutes later, he called me, and he was like, he's gone. And I was like, what do you mean he's gone? You said his car was there. And he was like, no. And then he told me. And we were at this point at my mom's friend's house, and we were about to take the boat out.
That's what I was going to ask you, where you were. Yeah.
And my kids were inside, and I was outside, and it's a beautiful house, and it's floor to ceiling windows, and I was on the deck. And my son said he saw me cover my face with my hand, and then he knew something was wrong, and he was crying. But I guess I must have registered, like, my kids are inside, so I moved to, like, the side of the house so they couldn't see me. And then my mom came out, and I told my mom, like, you, like, put on a face, like, make my kids happy, do whatever they want, they can't know anything. But my oldest was crying, and he didn't know why. He was like, I want to go home. Like, he just knew.
There was something wrong.
Yeah.
So when your neighbor told you, how did he say it?
He said, he's gone. And I said, what do you mean? You said he was home. And he said, he shot himself in the head, and he's dead. And
that's
it's
the
like,
phone call you'll never forget.
Never, ever forget.
No. That's so hard.
And in a million years, I never, ever would have imagined that Rob, the man who saves people, he's rescued dozens of individuals who have tried to commit suicide, that he was capable of it.
Yeah. So then those next moments then, I mean, I'm sure it's like you'll never forget it, but it's also a blur at the same time. Yeah. So, you know, your mother, was it your mom or your mother-in-law? Okay, your mom. So you were like, put on a happy face, do whatever you can do.
I had my mom and my aunts put on a happy face. There was someone at the house, I think it was like my mom's friend's nephew, and he was a priest. And he was there, and he's like, I don't know why I'm here, I don't know, but tell me what to do. I'm going to pray for you, but tell me what I need to do. And I remember handing him my phone, and I was like, I need to go home. Like, can you get me flights home? Like, change my United app, change my flight home. And he was able to get us a flight on the next day for all of us.
I don't even think about you guys flying, you know, because I don't know, I would just like thinking a car ride away or whatever, but like, oh my gosh, just like that flight was probably the longest flight.
We didn't sleep that night. My mom and I stayed up. The flight was at like 6 a.m., so we just stayed up all night packing. And then I remember getting off the plane. And, like, you know how you go through, like, the hallway, and then it opens up to, like, the waiting room. And the waiting room was just roped off with cops. And, like, my brother-in-law was there.
They were waiting for you.
Waiting for us. All of Rob's partners were there. And then, like, the exit had all these police cars. And I just remember, I mean, the NYPD, they were great. We had, like, an escort to go all the way home, like, no traffic, you know what I mean? And then they just really, they picked up. They knew exactly what needed to be done. And my sister's husband took the kids, and my mom went with them for a little bit, I think. Layla was still a baby, so, like, that's a lot of kids. Yeah. But my sister was like, I'm not leaving your side. Like, I'm staying with you. Because I said, no, I want you to be with my kids. And she's like, no, you need me.
You need me,
And I'm so grateful for that, because the entire time she just had her phone like this, taking notes on, like, everything that needed to be done and arrangements that needed to be made. And thinking back on it, I'm like, there's no way I could have done that by myself.
No, and because you don't, I mean, you never think about planning your husband's funeral. No. So you're like, what do I need to do here? What goes on? And I'm thankful too, because I mean, you know, Kyle's parents, like his dad especially, like took care of all of that. You know, it's just like, all right, we got to call the funeral home. We got to do this. You know, there's so many things. And I'm still like, yeah, I mean, just like you, I got a 9-month-old baby. Like, I'm like I'm still learning how to be a mom. This is my first baby. I'm still learning, you know, and I'm like, let alone to be a single mom. And so, yeah, it's just like all the things that you have to do, and like going through pictures, and like that stuff is hard. I just remember sitting with all of our family, you know, and it was just like going through old pictures to pick which one's the best to go in this and that. sucks.
It sucks.
Sucks.
It
You just
sucks.
go down memory lane, and it's like, I don't know, it's like one of those visions, like, oh, your life flashes before your eyes. Well, like, it actually does flash before your eyes when you're planning your person's funeral, because you see their whole life in pictures, which always take the pictures, print the pictures, don't lose your pictures. Like,
Don't keep them
my
on a
photographer
phone.
in me is coming out now, but I'm like, gosh, it's just like, I couldn't imagine not having the pictures, you know?
Totally.
Ugh.
Yeah, Rob's family did all of the pictures. My sister and my brother-in-law did most of the arrangements, and like the NYPD had people. They have people for this. And so there were coordinators, and and they were there to help with like therapy for my kids, and here's what you need to do next. And I remember like there was a patrol car outside my house for like 3 days, and there was like Rob's partners that were just like in my house nonstop, and like, here's a water, maybe you should eat something, like just there. I don't know why they were there, but they were there, and I'll never forget like that sense of comfort.
And you might even in the moment too be like, I don't understand why they're still here, but when you do look back, you're like, okay, I really did need that. Thank you for doing that when I didn't know myself. Because that, like, just like, oh, you need to eat something and you need to do this, and like, my mom was staying, my mom or my sister, they'd kind of trade off, but keep in mind too, my sister has a baby that was only 7 weeks older than my son, so she has under 2. 2 babies under 2, so me and her are like, okay, just at my house with the babies, because her husband's an officer, so he was working a lot. So, but I do remember one specific moment. Someone had brought me food, like literally brought me a whole tray of like enchiladas. And I was like, I'm kind of hungry, but I don't want to get a plate. Brooks needs a bath. And for whatever reason, I was home by myself with Brooks. I mean, every now and then you got to be by yourself. Family needs to go home and change their bag, get some fresh clothes or whatever it is. And so I remember being alone, and I had Brooks in the bath. And I just sat on the bathroom floor, and I just, like, had my arm up on the bath. And I remember, like, trying to take bites of this enchilada tray. And just, I remember sitting there thinking, like, look at me. Like, look at me. Look at this. What is happening? And I just remember, like, it was such a low moment. Just feeling so alone and so confused, But I still was thankful for the tray of enchiladas.
Thank you to whoever brought those enchiladas.
They may not have made it on a plate, but it did make it in my mouth at some point.
Oh, man.
Just like, you just think about the weird things that you do right after. And I just remember, like, man, if someone was looking at me right now, they'd be like, that is so pathetic. And I'm like, I am pathetic right now, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm going through a lot, but... just stories like that. We'll always have stories like that.
We'll always have it, but it's so, I mean, as refreshing as it can be, it's refreshing to know that, like, I'm not the only one who experienced this, and, like, there are people who deal with this who think, am I pathetic?
Right.
And we can
you
now say,
are
like,
for a second,
but
it's okay. I know. I can laugh at it now, but I remember thinking, like picturing someone looking at me, like Brooks just playing in the bath, and I'm just like on the floor, like barely trying to get something in my mouth, I just, no appetite, you just don't want to eat.
Nope.
Yeah. My friend bought me a whole case of protein shakes, and I still like could barely even drink those. Ugh.
The physical loss is like so evident, like when you're going through grief.
Yeah.
I remember showering for the first time, and like, because I was also postpartum. Leela had just turned 1.
Yeah.
And I remember like chunks of my hair falling out and being like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening
all
right
the
now?
Stress plus postpartum.
Yeah. Like it was like this dirty combination, and like my hair was just everywhere.
Yeah.
And then like looking down and seeing like all these bruises, and I wasn't back to like my pre-baby weight yet, but it's crazy how fast the weight fell off.
Yep.
And like,
same with me.
Looking in the mirror, like, what is happening to me?
I want to say I lost like 30 pounds. Crazy.
Scary.
I'm like, whoa, because I wasn't eating that much. And then when I did start going back to work, I was like on my feet a lot, but then also still just not eating, just trying to get through my day. I was so scared to go back to work because I was like, then people are going to like start asking me, and I'm so afraid of these conversations. And my biggest fear was making them feel uncomfortable though. You asked me a question and I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry that I'm crying. My fiance just died. I'm like, okay, whoa, that's a little bit like just disconnected. And then
disconnected. You're consoling them,
yeah.
right? And
you're
you're
like,
like,
oh
no,
my gosh, I'm
no,
so
okay.
sorry. I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. I am totally good. We are doing good. You know, it's like, you're consoling them for something very like uncomfortable. You don't want to make them feel uncomfortable by asking a normal question.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, I'm sorry you just asked me that question. A normal thing, but...
Try not to cry. Try not to cry.
Exactly.
I'm sorry I'm crying, but the reason I'm crying is...
Yeah, I know. It is just uncomfortable to talk about because you know how you feel about it and you're okay talking about it. Well, I was okay talking about it.
Same.
And I was just like, but yeah, I just don't want to make people feel weird when they ask me questions, you know?
And nobody
like,
knows what to say.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know, like...
Yeah.
Are you okay? What am I supposed to say? No, I'm not. I'm like, I'm fine. The running joke now in my family is like, I'm fine. Everything is fine.
Yeah, we're good.
And like, it's like burning in the background. And I'm like, no, everything is fine.
Yeah. I remember taking Brooks to a doctor appointment not that long after Kyle had passed. And they were like, they asked something like, okay, does he live with mom and dad? Like something so simple, like just a normal question. And I think it probably... I mean, I don't know. It's just a normal question, you know? And I was like, well, he died. And then I was like, I'm sorry. He passed away. She's like, literally, like, her face. I will never forget her face. And she was just like, I am so sorry. Are you okay? I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And she kept asking me if I was okay, and I like had tears in my eyes, and I'm like, if you ask me one more time, I'm gonna freaking lose it. But I'm just like, I'm okay. Thank you. We're doing good. Let's move on.
Yeah.
You know, let's just get through this doctor appointment because then right after I'm going to bawl my eyes out. So I'm like, okay, it's okay. We're fine. But yeah, those moments are hard.
Everything is fine. My cousins and I, we do like dance parties whenever we're together with the kids. We have a ton of kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's really great. But we do these dance parties and the song by Taylor Swift, I Could Do It With a Broken Heart.
Mm-hmm.
And we would be dancing and crying.
Yes.
Gotta fake it till you make it.
Yes.
Like,
I remember hearing that song too after Kyle passed. I'm like, okay,
this is my song. I don't think Taylor Swift meant grief when she wrote this song, but it is perfect for it.
It really is. That's our theme song.
It is our theme song.
Can we open with that? Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Oh man.
But yeah, just, okay, so much here. But, okay, so then after, just all the aftermath, you know, we're going through talking about just all the emotions that you're going through afterwards. But I guess just going back more into the actual event of Rob committing suicide, how was the police department about it? Like, there had to be an investigation, right?
I really don't think there was much of an investigation.
Okay.
I think it was pretty, like, clear.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They were great. I mean, for the circumstances, they were prepared, you know? There have been a significant amount of suicides afterwards in the NYPD. It's been averaging like one a month since Rob.
That's crazy.
And what's crazy is his funeral was absolutely beautiful. Like, so beautiful. With the canines and the horses and the helicopter flyover and the shutting down of the highways and the motorcycles, and I just can't tell you how beautiful of a tribute it was. And I just can't help but wonder, like, why are you so prepared for this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if a little bit of that budget was put into preventative care, maybe we would have had a different outlook. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But I feel like this was why I had like an itch or a calling to like come here with you, because I remember sitting there afterwards thinking like, oh my God, like a month later, there's another widow. And then like a month later, there's another widow. And they're probably all feeling as lost as I was. And it was like, it's in my nature to research. I felt like I could research the answers to grief, right? And like I could beat it if I knew enough about it. Like
I feel
was
like a
taking
lot of
test.
people do. Seriously.
It was
like
kind of weird now.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's like, yeah, I mean, like we had talked about previously, it's just like, going on Instagram, looking up the hashtags grief or whatever, because you want to hear like testimonials, but you want to hear people's perspectives on what helped them. And honestly, there's no like single way that helps a person, but if you can like listen to all these different stories of what helped people, then you have all these tools now to try things at least to help you,
Yeah.
And I feel like, but with like talking about how beautiful his funeral was and everything, I totally remember that because Kyle was military, so we had like this whole like they're called the Freedom Riders. They're all on like motorcycles, and they have like their American flags and all that stuff, and they like follow to like the cemetery for the burial. And I just remember sitting in that car and watching all of this, and like just like, this is such a weird thing to say, but Kyle would be so proud of this send-off, You're
Totally.
like, isn't it such a bittersweet thing?
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh, like this is all for my person. And to think that they would love it.
Yeah.
Isn't
and like
that
everyone
crazy?
is here for them. Like I wish Rob could see how many people showed up for him.
I know. I literally like was just like, Kyle would be like, this is badass, like, but it's like, but it's your funeral.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. It's so weird to think, but like, I'm so grateful at that send off too, as I'm sure you are. But I feel like that's also one of our main missions, is that we think about these military and our law enforcement and first responders. And it's just like, if we could just be a little bit more open about that, like letting them be more open and talking about their feelings and not having this fear of losing their job. Like, would you rather spend this money on a funeral or spend a little bit of money on like letting this person take the time they need to heal?
Yeah.
Like, they see terrible things.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, and Rob was like so fearful of losing like his position. Like he had such a coveted high-ranking position, the way people look at ESU, and I know that like that would be his greatest fear, would be like not having that anymore. And it was like his proudest accomplishment, like aside from like the kids,
right?
But it was also like what ruined him.
Yeah.
And
these poor people, I feel like they just feel like they're stuck and there's no other option.
Yeah.
And that's what's so, I feel like, is so hard. Because it's like, I mean, you get it in a certain sense, you want like, you want people to feel, how do I say this? You want people to feel like they're safe and this person has got like this strong head on their shoulders, and not saying that because they show a little bit of vulnerability and that they have this depression or they have these thoughts that they're any less than. But I feel like that's just what, that's what men think. You know what I mean?
Like a man thing.
Yeah,
totally.
It's like if this person shows any weakness, that they are having any sort of mental struggles, then they probably don't need to be in that position, and that is what we are trying to break.
Yeah.
That's not true. Just let people take the breather that they need, get the help that they need, and they will bounce back, hopefully.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at least try, and so, yeah, that's what we really want to break.
Yeah, I'm like a huge believer in like a little reset, and I always go back and I think if I were able to like get him out for like a month and like give him a little reset, like would that have made a difference?
Yeah.
But I know you can't ever go down that road with the would haves or what ifs. But
it's so hard not to.
Yeah.
It's really hard not to, because you just what if I was there? What if I did this? What if I did that? And a person will beat themselves up about that. But you think at the end of the day, with your person that's just mentally struggling, whether it was that moment, it could have been another moment if you were there. You know what I mean? You can't blame yourself for not being able to be there.
Yeah.
Because I did that for a little bit too.
And then I keep thinking, well, if I was there, what would my kids have seen?
Exactly.
right? Like,
That
my
was my whole other thing.
priority
Yeah.
is like protect my kids at all costs.
Yeah. And God, thank God you and your kids didn't have to see him like that.
No.
So then you get home. Obviously, well, at what point did you tell your kids?
I actually told Robbie while we were there before we got on the plane, because he knew, like, his body knew something was wrong. And so someone connected me to a therapist. She's actually my therapist now.
Thank God for a therapist.
Thank God. But what was interesting is she knew, like, developmentally where each child would be at, and like what questions they would have. And with Robbie, he was 7, and it was like the physical body, like that was his concern, is like, well, what's happening to his heart? Where is he laying? Is there blood? And so I had to explain that, what happened to Daddy is very rare, and it can never happen to us. It'll never happen to anyone else you love, but he is in heaven and he's not coming back. You're never going to see him again. And he was sad, but I don't think he fully understood. He knew he wasn't coming back. And he was sad, but I don't think, because we weren't home, I think it didn't really click,
Yeah.
And then with Nicholas, he was 3. He never asked for Daddy. Like, we got home and there were so many people there, and it was busy, and kids and cousins and family, and he never asked. And Robbie would be like, well, are we going to tell him? Are we going to tell him? And I was like, okay, we could tell him. And so, same thing, we had to say, like, he's in heaven and he's not coming back. You're not going to see him again. Because they developmentally, I guess, assume, like, okay, he's not here, but I'll see him tomorrow. And so, like, we had to reiterate, like, you're never going to see him again. And he said, did the bad guys get him? And I was like, no, the bad guys didn't get Daddy. And then he said, did he hurt himself jumping out of the helicopter? Because he always watched videos of the helicopter jumps. And I said, no, it didn't happen in a helicopter. And he said, and then Robbie was like, well, did his body shrink since his heart stopped beating? And I was like, what an interesting thought.
Yeah, I know, kids, man.
No, his body didn't shrink.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't even remember my response to that.
Yeah, you're just like,
yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Not quite.
And then Nicholas, still, he'll be like, can we go to heaven to visit Daddy? Or I'm mad at heaven for taking Daddy. And one day he took a balloon from his birthday and he tied it to himself. And he's like, I'm going to go outside and float to Daddy. And I was like, okay.
I know. Gosh, kids saying the darndest things here.
It's like just the innocence.
Yeah.
The innocence.
Yeah. I remember one of Kyle's nephews when they said, well, Kai is dead. He's not coming back. And he was like, can we charge him? Yeah. I wish.
Oh my God.
My gosh, I wish we could charge him. He needs a good charge. Like,
oh my
it's
God.
like
we all need that charge.
I know, like, come on. Oh my gosh. You're like, man. Oh, at least you sweet little thing,
I know.
Like,
I
I'm
know.
so glad you don't, like, fully grasp it yet, but.
Yeah. And then, like, that's another fear. Like, when will they ask the question? Like, when will they know to ask the question?
Because we have one around the same age. And, it's like, Brooks, he has, like, a little cutout pillow of Kyle. And he has had, like, little phases where, like, he's, like, has to take it everywhere. Has to be in the car. He wants to sleep with it. Literally, I will try to just, like, lay him down without it so it's not something he always has to have. Not that I don't want him to have it,
course,
but, I want
of
it to be a
course.
healthy thing, too.
Yeah.
And so, I'd lay him down. He'd be like, Dad, that pillow. Dad, that pillow. And he's always asking for it. I'm like, okay. And he kind of is phasing out of it a little bit. But then the other day he saw it and then was like, okay, back to it.
Yeah.
Dad, that pillow. I'm like, that's okay. You can carry around your dad pillow all you want. But I don't want him to ruin it either,
Right.
But I'll just get a new one if I have to. But, it's just... Yeah, having his dad pass away at 9 months old, it's like, yeah, I'm always thinking about that. Like, when is he gonna be like, hey, well, where is my dad?
It's like a gift and a curse. He was so young because
100%.
I know that my brothers-in-law's kids, they know everything. They're older and they know everything, and I feel like it's almost like there's a difference between like grief and like trauma, and the fact that my kids were so young, like it wasn't a traumatic event for them,
Right.
It's just grief.
Yeah.
And
that's one weird thing to be thankful for, but I am thankful for that for sure. Because Brooks saw everything. He saw me trying to resuscitate his dad and he was screaming. And so I was just like, 9 months old, I'm like looking up everything I can. Like, is he going to remember this? Does he know? Like, maybe he doesn't like fully understand and know, but is he going to remember me screaming like that and the way that I was frantic and panicking? And he reacted to it. Obviously, he's screaming his head off. And I'm over here like trying to tune him out so I can tend to Kyle, but I just am like, is he going to remember any of this? Even if he doesn't like fully know, will he have the flashbacks? Will he have nightmares, And it just, online, it just said for something so traumatic like that, but for an infant, you just got to get them back into their routine, which is why I went back home right away.
Yeah.
And like, not like right away. I want to say it was literally only 3 or 4 days that I stayed at my parents' house. And I was like, there's a reason I'm spending the night at my parents' house. And I hate it. I hate this. So I was like, Mom, I think I'm ready to go back home. I don't want to stay here. It makes me feel worse being here almost. Yeah. And so I didn't want to stay alone. So they started staying with me, my mom or my sister. And so, or friends or whoever, someone would stay with me. Yeah. I always I had a schedule of who's going to stay with me what night.
Like a rotation of babysitters for you?
Yes, basically. Yeah. And so, so I just remember, though, I wanted to be at that house, and it was tough to come up to the house the first time. I bawled my eyes out. Seeing Kyle's truck in the driveway was, just so horrible. And, but at the same time, it was just that weird comfort. I want to be at home. This was our space together. And I do remember, one of the first nights that I slept there, was I want to sleep in his spot. Because I didn't want to look over to my mom. But I didn't want to look over to an empty side of my bed. That was his spot. Mm-hmm. So I would rather lay in his spot and look to my empty spot, right. And for whatever reason, that did help me.
It's the strangest things what brings you comfort. Yeah. We did not spend any time not at home. When we flew home that day, we slept at home because Layla was a baby. And
not only, you don't have one kid, you have 3 kids. Yes. That's a lot.
We were just away, so they wanted the comfort of their home. Right. And they didn't know what happened, They didn't ask where it happened. Yeah. And so we were home from day one. And like you said, we had a rotation of people spending the night, which was so great. But there was this feeling of comfort. I needed to be here where he was. Right.
Yeah. It's this really weird, comforting feeling. There's definitely times where I would just break down. And then I think I remember, I want to say it was my mom, but was just we don't have to stay here. I'm like, but I want to. I know I'm sad, but I'm going to be just as sad at your house. Yeah. If not more, because I know that I'm away from my home. But yeah, it was just the weirdest thing. And some people never go back, though. Some people will never go back. And that's why, it's weird that we have that similarity. We're I don't know. It happened in the house, in this spot. Yeah. I know exactly what happened. Yeah. But I just want to be here. Yeah. I don't know. I just want to be here.
I know.
And so.
There's so morbid. There's the spot where it happened, the wood turned colors, I guess, from like the cleanup. And so my brother-in-law and my cousin's husband like fixed the wood. They like
Oh my gosh.
bought the polyurethane or whatever they needed to do while we were at the birthday party.
Oh my gosh.
And they fixed it.
Oh
and
my gosh.
I'm like, my kids never even asked, like, why can't we go in this area? Like,
yeah.
it's just so crazy to think about all of the chaos that happened, but I'm just grateful for my people. Like, I guess
Seriously.
any problem that I had, like, all my appliances broke. My microwave, our AC in the basement.
Oh my gosh.
The dishwasher, the washer, and the dryer. Literally that month, every single appliance broke. Oh my gosh. And someone would walk in with a microwave. Someone would walk in with a dryer.
You're like, my life. What is happening? Everything's falling apart.
And everyone, I remember my brother-in-law being like, thank God Rob's not here for this, because he would not be able to handle all this.
Yeah.
And yet somehow, like, everybody just rallied and fixed the fridge and the dishwasher.
Thank God for our people. Seriously, thank God for our people.
Like, I don't know how, like, you find your circle. And if it's not family, your friends, like, the people, they don't have to be family to, like, rally for you. Just show up. I've had, like, my coworkers and my old principal, like, just the way they show up for you, it was, like, things that people I will never forget now.
Yeah, that is so awesome. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I had friends that I really didn't talk to often, or maybe even, like, I hadn't even talked to them since high school, you know, and checking in on me several times. And I know you had a great community with Rob's coworkers and stuff. And his officer friends. And, like, even for me, Kyle and I got together after he was in the military, after he got out. So I didn't meet a whole lot of his military friends, except for the ones he was really close to.
Yeah.
They came and stayed with us or whatever. But he talked about all of his military friends. I maybe saw him on FaceTime with them here and there. But I'm telling you, the amount of his military buddies that reached out, they even started a small, like, just only military guys, started a little GoFundMe. Because it all happened, like, a couple months before, like, the holidays, you know? And so then they started a little GoFundMe so that I could buy Brooks Christmas presents. Yeah. I was like, how incredibly thoughtful and sweet is that? And then even this year, they donated, I mean, little stuff, but enough to get me, like, $300. And they're like, even, you know, the next year, next Christmas, they were like, hey, I know this isn't much, but it's a little something to help you through this Christmas. I'm like, just the fact that you guys are still thinking about me. Kyle talked about you guys so much and how, like, you guys are just, like, brothers and how much you guys meant to him. And, like, now I fully understand. And I wish I would have understood a little bit more before.
Totally. Totally.
But he always talked so highly of everyone, all of his buddies. And so it's, like, it's awesome. It says a lot says a lot for your person, too.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Like, everyone says Rob was a ball buster, number one, but he was a gentleman. And that really was true. And I had seen it. Like, he would still open the door for me and pull out my chair. Like, he'd be mad at me and he'd still walk me to my car, you know? But to know that everyone saw, like, the Rob that I knew, you know, like, coworkers and, like, fraternity brothers and neighbors and, like, everyone saw the beautiful, wonderful Rob that, like, I knew. And that's how my kids will remember him now, because we're hearing all these great stories that I never even knew.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these are the stories that even if my kids can't remember their dad, they'll remember the stories of their dad. And so that's how they'll keep his memory alive, you know? And that's, like, that's all I can ask for, is that, like, my kids remember their brave daddy.
Yeah.
You know?
Seriously. And I think that that's something that I've always thought about, too, just having, you know, Rob's friends, having Kyle's friends. And I think about that, too. Please never stop coming around so you can tell.
And talk all you want. Tell us the dumbest stories. I want to hear them.
Even if I even think that, too. Even if I am in a new relationship, like, I just want you to continue to talk to my son about his dad and tell him how stupid he was and all the
Yes.
stupid things he said and just like how silly he was, you know? Like there's some stories, please don't tell him till after he's 18, but for the most part, I just want you to tell him all the stories. And I think us as the parent, the mom, you know, I think it's important for us to still kind of keep those connections with their friends just so that we will have that for our
100%.
kids, you know?
Yeah, and their family, and like I will make it my mission that my kids know.
Right.
From everyone, like what a great man he
Right.
was.
Yeah. I know. One of my friends that had lost his dad at such a young age, his parents didn't handle it that well. Well, his mom and stepdad didn't handle it as well. As far as talking about it and stuff like that, which you maybe even saw his episode, my friend Caleb.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like getting his advice, like, hey, keep his medals, keep his uniform, keep his golf t-shirts, you know, little things, like even like his watches and things like that. I'm like, I'm going to have a huge crate for Brooks to go through whatever he wants. He could go shopping in his dad's box, you know, and I don't want to selfishly keep everything for me or him, but you know, give stuff away to his family and stuff like that. But I think that having this piece of his dad that he can pick what he wants from it is going to be so special for him, you know?
And like even the memories and the stories that he's heard, like I know my kids, like, you know, Rob loved the Rangers, so I have his Ranger jerseys out, and like my kids will ask, like, can we put on Daddy's Mets shirt or his Rangers jersey? And so I have it accessible. And like even the cologne, like there's one cologne, Rob had like an obsession with cologne. There was one cologne that just always reminded me of like the Rob when I first met him, you know, and I smell it almost every day. And I'm like, I can't get rid of this, because what if my kids smell it and it brings back a memory, right? Like, I don't know what they'll remember in 20 years, but I can't get rid of anything. So I Googled it, and you could put cologne in the refrigerator keep it fresh.
Okay, because I had Kyle's cologne that I got him for a couple Christmas before he passed. It's like basically gone at this point. And so I literally was like, okay, I have one shirt. I'm going to spray his cologne on it, and then I'm going to seal it because it smells like him, but then also have his cologne on it. And so I went to go like spray it, and there was like nothing in it. And I was like, oh, it really is gone. So I have the bottle, and I keep smelling it, and it still smells like it. But I'm like, okay, now I need to find this bottle, which is so funny. We were so broke that Christmas, and I got it from TJ Maxx for like freaking $10 or something, but it smells so good. And I was like, you know what? I need to find this cologne again so I can have a brand new bottle, and I'll save it for Brooks, you know? So I still haven't got the bottle, but...
we got to find that bottle.
I mean, I have the empty bottle, but yeah, I need a new bottle. I'm going to put it in Brooksy's box. And but I'm like, you know, I selfishly think about a couple things. I'm like, but what if he does want to use that all the time? And then I'm smelling Kyle, but it's on Brooks all the time. And what if it makes me sad? I'm like, you know what? That whatever, you know what I mean?
Can't think that far ahead.
Can't think that far ahead, right? Don't look at the bigger picture. Just save it for Brooks. Who knows? He might be like, this smells terrible, Mom. Like, you know, like, okay, then you just keep it in that box, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever works for you, right?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they'll want to keep, or I didn't get rid of anything.
Yeah,
I just got storage, and I had my brother-in-law, both of my brother-in-laws come and see what they wanted. My nephew, come and see what you want. And I'm not getting rid of anything. I don't even think I got rid of his toothbrush.
Yeah, no, I still have his toothbrush too.
It's away, and I needed it away for me because there was like a point where I said like, I need to wake up and like not feel so sorry for myself, you know? And so when I had said like I did research, like I had to really research the difference between like moving on and moving forward, right? Like I don't want people to think I'm moving on. I need to understand the difference between moving on and moving forward.
Right.
And like one of the things that I had to do for myself to move forward is like, I'm not getting rid of his stuff. I'm keeping every single thing, his socks, his ripped up boxer briefs, like I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
and I'll look at it when my kids want to look at it or if I want to look at it, but I need to move forward so that I can like
try to heal.
Yeah. And I don't think that's like another thing. Like they say like time heals all wounds. Like I disagree. Yeah. I don't think time will heal it. I think time will allow me to move forward and grow in a different way.
Yeah.
The wound will always be there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's a scar. It's never going away.
Yeah. And there's going to be times where he gets brought up and you can talk about him. And then there's going to be times where he gets brought up and you cannot stop crying. It's just like that. There's sometimes sometimes it pours salt on the wound. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
totally.
Sometimes you're like, okay, I got a Band-Aid over it. I'm good.
Yeah.
You know? And so.
But I think we need to understand, like, and us widows need to understand that, like, the expectation that time will heal, like, you're not going to wake up one day and be like, oh, well, here I am 6 months later, I'm able to turn my page and move on, like, get rid of his stuff, you know? Like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. And so, and just speaking of stuff and just things and all the things that they leave behind, you know, I just barely started going through Kyle's closet because I was like, in my head, it was like a big deal in my head, such a big deal. I'm like, I don't want to touch it. I finally started going through some of the things, which he got a bunch of clothes from like his brother, like right before he passed. So that stuff wasn't a big deal to get rid of. I like gave some brand new clothes to like my brother-in-law and stuff like that. And like, he never even wore this.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's not his, you know? I'm like, the clothes that I have pictures of him and like, just remember like his favorite golf shirt that literally all of his friends will remember, pink and blue. Everyone knows exactly what shirt I'm talking about. And he's like, wait, this is pink? He's colorblind.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, yes, it's pink.
And he still rocked it.
Yes, he did. But like, just cleaning out the closet, I remember my therapist saying, you don't have to get rid of it. You don't have to get rid of it. If it makes you feel better, put it in a box and keep it in the closet if you want. You're just organizing it. You don't have to feel like you're getting rid of it and you're getting rid of him, you know? And I did have a family member like, okay, you're starting to clean out stuff. You're starting to move on. And it made me cry, and I was sad because of the way that this person said you're moving on. And like you said, I'm not moving on. I'm moving forward with my life. He's always going to be a piece of me. But it was just like, don't get rid of his clothes. And I'm like, I will not get rid of his clothes. I promise you that. And I am moving forward.
Yeah.
I am not moving on.
Yeah.
There's always going to be times where I might not outwardly say I'm thinking about Kyle, but there are always times where he pops into my head and I'm like, oh yeah, Kyle would have loved that or whatever. And that does happen.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I'm not moving forward in my life too. I started dating.
Good
and
for
I
you.
just, it's hard. I mean, it's a weird thing, you know, but at the same time, it's like, like this is my life. I can't halt everything, you know?
Yeah.
But for some people, it takes a long time to be ready to date and stuff like that. But, and I don't know what exactly was like my turning point where I felt like I was ready. But at the same time, I'm just like you said, I just have to accept that I'm not moving on. I'm just moving forward. I'm just trying to continue my life that I unfortunately still have to live this regardless.
Yeah.
I've got a son. And if I didn't have my son, that's a whole different story.
Totally.
You will stay in that depression for who knows how long. You got to think of something else to pull you out. Yeah, because what pulled me out obviously was my son.
Totally.
You know.
Yeah, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have, like, the baby.
Yeah.
Like, my boys were in school, and I was on maternity leave when Rob passed, and I can't go back to work now. I have 3 kids who need me, and just, like, the cost of before care and after care and child's care, like, I'd be paying money to go to work, essentially.
Right.
But then it's, like, this identity crisis of who am I? I'm not a wife anymore. I don't have my job. I'm not a teacher. Like,
what am I going to do?
Who am I?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And like understanding that like I can move forward in a healthy way. It's like you lose yourself and you have to
lose
just
yourself.
you can't completely let go of who you are,
Yeah.
but you don't know where to even start.
No, and regardless of it all, and regardless of you saying like, I'm still here,
Yeah.
it's still me, but you did lose a big piece of yourself. And I think that's the hard part, is that I will never be the person I was before I lost him.
Never.
You know, you just have to accept that you're just seeing life through a different lens now.
Yeah.
You know, you really are. You just, it puts life in a completely different perspective. You're
Everything.
thankful of what you do have in your life. I don't know, at least for me, I guess I'm speaking for myself, but like I'm thankful for the things that I do have, even though I look back sometimes, I'm like, man, I was dealt some shit cards, you know, but at the same time, not all of them are shit, you
Right.
know. I have some great things in my life. I have a lot of great things in my life, but you appreciate the people around you. You appreciate the things that you have. Even for me, I'm more intentional in my conversations. I'm more like just aware of things and people's feelings. And even I've brought this up in a previous episode, like having an interaction with someone that's rude or mean or whatever, and you're just like, my gosh, what are they going through? Now I actually think, oh my gosh, what are they going through? They might have gone through what I just went through. They might have lost someone close to them in their life, or you know, just having issues, and you just think they could be just having a bad day. That's maybe not their identity, you know, maybe not the person they are, but it really, everything is in a new light now.
I will never be that Lillian again. And I miss her, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
the naive, like Rob used to always say, like, you live in a bubble. Your world is rainbows and butterflies. And like, I didn't understand what he was talking about because I didn't know what his world looked like, you know? And now I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
And like I miss that bubble. I want to go back sometimes, but I will never be the same person.
Yeah.
I'm more intentional with my kids. I've learned to care so much less about things.
Yes.
And
that especially.
Right?
About like, what people think.
Yeah. And I started reading, a widow group actually suggested the let them theory. And I started reading it, and it really helps with the mindset of like, let them. Like, I can't control what other people think, whether it's of me or of my kids or of how I am moving forward. I can only control like me. And so the theory is like, let them think or do or say what they want, but let me. What can I do? What's in my power?
Yeah.
And it's helping me. And now my sister is reading it too, and she's like, I'm learning that I can't judge people the way I would. You know, like she would be like, Rob would have made a comment and I would have been like, what a jerk thing for you to say. She's like, but I never knew, so how dare I think about him in that light when I had no idea what he was going through.
Yeah. Just this whole new perspective, and not even for us as widows, but as you said, anyone surrounding you, you know? And I noticed that with friends, family, it just, you think about this one person, and then you think about everyone surrounding this one person, all the connections that they have, and you just think that person is pulled out, and I just think, like, all these people are just like,
now what?
What?
Yeah.
Like, what? You know? And it's in so many different ways, too, you know? I just think of his best friends, like, wait, he was just my person I could just call and talk about stupid shit with, you know?
Yeah.
Or, like, there's so many, I don't know. That's something that's on my mind a lot.
Yeah.
All the different perspectives of different people, and, like, this one person, how much of an impact they made on this whole circle.
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to know, is that if you're feeling so low, think of you in this bubble and look around at your circle.
Yeah.
Like, look at your circle. You're not alone.
Totally.
All these people are connected to you because they love you.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
I don't know. I just feel like...
Totally. I know Rob would have been up for retirement in January. So he just had to hold on 6 more months, right? And he had a plan with, like, all of the guys at the truck that he worked with. And they all retired because they're like, it's just not the same, you know? And I'm like, if Rob knew that, you know?
Right.
Like, if Rob knew the impact that he had, like,
Yeah. It's crushing to think that.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Gosh, I feel like you and I are just so freaking similar because, yeah, it's just like, and I don't want to keep interrupting like, oh, well, me
No,
too.
I
That's
need
how I
to
feel
hear
too,
it.
you know?
We need to hear it. I need to
Yeah.
like feel that connection because, you know,
Yeah.
it's so isolating.
Yeah.
It is so, I had so many people at the funeral and so many people at my house for the few months afterwards, but like, it's still so isolating. And I think that's why I set my reminder for Shattered Silence, because like I needed to feel that connection. Like I needed to know that this happens and I'll be okay and my kids will be okay.
And I don't know how or why I felt this, but even as much as I was so depressed and I'm like, how am I going to get through this? What am I going to do? At the end of the day, deep in my heart, like I truly felt like I was like comforted. Like I felt God's presence. I really did. And it was just like, I didn't like even doubt that I would get pulled out of this at some point. Like I knew in my heart, I'm so depressed. I'm so sad. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But in my heart, I knew that it's going to happen. I'm going to be happy someday.
Yeah.
I'm going to find happiness. I'm going to have my family that I've always dreamed of. I'm so incredibly sad that it's not with Kyle. And I'm so incredibly sad that my life is completely different now and it's never going to be the path that I thought it was going to be. But at the end of the day, I knew in my heart that I'm going to be happy someday. And I just have to believe that. I feel like that's the only thing you can do is have that hope in your heart, knowing that you're going to go through some bad things. You're going to go through some shit a little bit. But like at the end of the day, you will be okay. You don't know when it's going to be, but you will be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to happen for you. It's going to happen for me. It's going to happen for all of us. But you've got to keep at least some bit of that hope because if you don't have that, you have nothing.
I know. I'm not where you are yet.
Yeah, you're still recent.
I'm coming to it. It's funny. My mom one time made a comment and she's like, God shouldn't have done this to you, but you were strong enough for it. Like I'm glad it happened to you, but like I know you were built for this. And like I found some comfort in that because I know I'm strong and like I don't feel strong every day.
Right.
But like I know that I can come out of it. And like there obviously like the waves hit and you can't see it, but like I'm looking forward to the day where I can wake up and feel like I'm good. Like I got this, you know? And I get like little pockets of it and then like I get pockets of grief. But I made myself a promise at the 6-month mark that I am going to wake up and I am not going to feel sorry for myself and I am going to do what I can so my kids see what love looks like and they can remember their dad in the best way. And those are my responsibility, right? Like who's going to show my kids what like true love is or like what sacrifice is? Like that's my job. Nobody owes that to my kids but me. And like that's a big responsibility, but
it's
I
huge.
have to do that for them.
But that just shows how strong of a person you are too, because you know at the end of the day, as much as we want to sit here and cry and be sad, at the end of the day it's about our kids and about making their childhood and their life the best you possibly can.
Amen.
Oh gosh dang, that was going to be really hard for me to get out. Oh, we can laugh and cry, right?
Oh, yeah, that's what we have to do. And then we'll play I Could Do It With a Broken Heart by Taylor Swift in the background.
Lillian.
Jori.
Well, Lillian. No, I just really, really appreciate you coming all this way, all the way from New York City, having to get flights and a ride over here from LAX and just all the travel for coming all the way out here to make it on this podcast.
I can't thank you. I feel like this has been a part of my journey and like my healing. I just had like an itch to share and I feel like maybe this will help somebody or maybe this will just help me in my journey.
No, it will help somebody, absolutely.
And that's like all that I can ask for.
Right.
And I'm just so blessed for this opportunity to be here. I feel like finding you at the right time, and then like our constant conversations, and then being here is like, you know, it's full circle for me.
Yeah.
So it has to be doing something.
Yeah, I really like, I mean, you coming out here, we've made friends, you know, we'll be lifelong friends
For
now.
sure,
I'm telling you,
for
like,
sure.
any of these connections that I've been making with people, and like, especially with you, we just like right off the bat, we have so
Totally.
many similarities and just like can just relate to each other. So again, I just thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Shattered Silence. As always, don't forget to follow us on all of our socials on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You can watch full episodes on YouTube, or you can listen in on Apple Podcast or Spotify.